Lupang hinirang, duyan ka na magiting. Sa manulupit, di ka pasisihil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mo bughaw. May dilagang tula at awit sa panayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ang luwal hanggang pagsinta buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya dapat may mga api ang mamatay lang dahil sa'yo.
Everyone, please welcome our MC for the 77th MAP Inaugural Meeting and Induction of the 2025 Board of Governors of the Management Association of the Philippines, MAP Governor Ms. Maan Ontiveros.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege to be the MC for this very important event of the Management Association of the Philippines. On behalf of the MAP Board of Governors, I welcome all of you to this 77th MAP inaugural meeting and induction of the MAP 2025 Board of Governors. We will now proceed to the recognition of outgoing MAP governors. May I call on our outgoing President, Rene Almendras, and incoming President, Al Panlilio, to please do the awarding. May I ask each Governor to come up to the stage as his or her name is called. And to our audience, please direct your attention to the screen for the services rendered by each outgoing MAP governor, as I will no longer read them in the interest of time. I would now like to call on Attorney Dick Dubaladad, founding partner and CEO of Dubaladad and Associates, BDB Law. We'd like you to stay on stage, please. Next is Ms. Karen Batumbakal, partner of CEO Advisors, Inc. Ms. Karen Batumbakal de Venecia. Next is Mr. Ben Punongbayan, founder of P&A Grant Thornton. Mr. Ben Punongbayan. Next, we have Ms. Cory Purisima, Treasurer and Head of Markets and Securities Services of HSBC Philippines. The last, but not the least, of course, is Ms. Martz Sazon, President and CEO of GCash Mint. Marts and Ben are not present. However, we have our 3 outgoing women governors. Ben Punong Bayan, may we ask you to please come and join the ladies. Marts is present, so may we ask you to wait. She's coming up on stage now. Thank you, Marts. As they are preparing themselves for the photo op, I would like you to note that there are 4 outgoing women governors. It was a banner year for MAP with 4 governors who were women. This year, sadly, I am the only one. A warm round of applause, please, for our outgoing governors. Thank you, Dick, Karen, Ben, Cory, and Marts. At this point, our outgoing president will now deliver his farewell message. Please welcome Secretary Rene Almendras.
Our distinguished guest speaker, who by the way is also a member of the MAP, and Mr. Manny Pangilinan, MAP past presidents who are here with us today, MAP Management Person of the Year awardees, friends from the government, the diplomatic community, civil society, the academe and media, members of the outgoing and incoming MAP Board of Governors, fellow MAP members, guests, good afternoon to all of you. I will not bore you anymore with a detailed report because I've already presented our association's achievement in 2024 at the annual general membership meeting held last November. Since the report, there have been a number of successful activities and meetings in the month of December. Our secretariat has also uploaded the MAP 2024 annual report in our website, so you can find all of them there. I must, however, say that 2024 was a very active and fruitful year for MAP, and I personally believe our association has delivered on expectations. Many thanks to all of you for your involvement and support. I've lost count of the many meetings and forums, gatherings that I've had to attend for MAP, but I've been very proud of all those involvement because all of them were very meaningful and fruitful. As often I do when something is successful, I ask myself, why did it work? When it fails, I also ask myself why it failed. Why do I do that? Well, mainly because I like to learn from my mistakes, but I also want to learn what worked well in the interest of being able to continue in a very sustainable manner, whatever momentum has been achieved. I step back, I study the effort itself, and answer those questions. And so I ask, what then is MAP? How does MAP succeed? Why is MAP so effective? And my proposal is 4 E words. The first E word is experience. In MAP, there is a wealth. In this room is a wealth and several thousand years of experience, skills, and expertise earned through the years of management practice, which has produced insightful wisdom. Wisdom of significant value to the challenges of today and hopefully contribute to the efforts towards a better future. The second E is empathetic rather. The dictionary meaning is with significant ability to understand and share the sentiments and feelings of others. In particular, MAP, I believe, has significant ability to understand and share the sentiment and feelings of managers of industry, the economy, the community, and MAP does care. The third E is engaged. MAP is always engaged. We get involved. We do not just sit back and let things happen or simply criticize things. MAP provides solutions and willing to work at and contribute to make these solutions happen. We do not and should not let issues and things that affect the businesses we manage come to pass. We should always get involved. Because of these 3 E's, the 4th E is a result, which is MAP is empowered. MAP is so because of you, the members, who are very well experienced, who are empathetic and engaged and thus empowered. You, the members of MAP, has and will continue to make MAP succeed into the future. At this point, I would like to thank the members of the 2024 Board of Governors in the person of the Vice President, Mr. Noel Bonoan. Thank you, Noel. Treasurer, Cory Purisima. Thank you very much, Ma'am Cory. Assistant Treasurer, Mart Sason. And Secretary Karen Batumbakal and Governor Dikdub Aladad, Rex Drilon, Al Panlilio, and Ben Punong Bayan. They were a great help in steering this organization in the past year. For their wisdom and guidance, I say thank you very much. I cannot go without thanking the fantastic MAP admin and secretariat team led by our Super Arnold. And by your applause, I know we appreciate all of Arnold and his team's efforts. They make things happen in MAP. They make MAP effective. In closing, may I earnestly request all members to support the incoming board headed by Al Panlilio in pursuing MAP's mission of promoting management excellence for nation building. I want to particularly thank all the committee chairman and vice chairman for all your help and contribution. All of the achievements of the year were mainly because of you. I have a little token of appreciation as my way of saying thank you to all of you. Once again, I want to say thank you very much to all of you members for the support, for the kindness, for the patience. I thank you for the opportunity to have served the MAP as the 76th President. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay ang MAP.
Thank you, Secretary Rene. Let us give Rene another big round of applause for providing dynamic, outstanding, relevant leadership to the MAP last year. We now proceed to the induction of the MAP 2025 Board of Governors. May I request each governor to come up the stage as his or her name is called. First, we have MAP President Al Panlilio, Chair of Maya Bank. we have MAP Vice President Mike Toledo, Director for Government and Public Affairs of Metro Pacific Investments Corporation. Superstar. Third, we have MAP Treasurer Wilson Tan, Chair and Country Managing Partner of SGV and Company. Next comes MAP Assistant Treasurer Paolo Borromeo, President and CEO of Ayala Healthcare Holdings. MAP Secretary Gil Henio, Independent Director of GT Capital Holdings. We welcome back on stage MAP Governor Rene Almendras, Consultant, Ayala Corporation. We'd like to call on MAP Governor Noel Bonoan, Vice Chair and COO and Head of Advisory of KPMG, RG, Manabat and Company. And then we have MAP Governor Rex Drilon II, Vice Chair of the Center for Excellence in Governance. And finally, yours truly, Maanon Tiveros.
To lead the induction of the MAP 2025 Board of Governors, may I now call on our inducting officer, the chair of the MVP Group and the MAP Management Person of the Year 2005, Mr. Manuel V. Pangilinan. Please all rise to add solemnity to the occasion.
You may take your seats, please. Thank you. Do they have to stand up? All of them. You're being inducted. Okay. Quite an organization, right? Okay. I, please state your name. Having been duly elected, please state your position. Of the Management Association of the Philippines, or MAP. Do hereby solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability the duties of my present position and all others I may hereafter hold in the MAP, that I will obey and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the MAP, that I will dedicate myself to promote and uphold its ideals and objectives, and that I impose this obligation upon myself voluntarily, without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Many congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Pangilinan. Please remain on stage, Mr. Pangilinan, for the photo op of the MAP board with you. For the audience, you may now all be seated. ask the members of the 2025 board to go back to the head table except MAP President Al Panlilio, outgoing President Rene Almendras, and Ms. Maan Ontiveros, who should remain on stage for the next part of our program.
Now proceed to the presentation of the plaque of appreciation to the outgoing MAP President. I will now read to you the text of the plaque, but can we bring it forward? Yes. The MAP presents this plaque of appreciation to Secretary Rene Almendras in recognition of his outstanding leadership and exemplary performance, and in grateful appreciation of his deep sense of responsibility and dedication to his duties as MAP President for 2024. With total commitment and full resolve, he firmly led and guided MAP in accomplishing its objectives consistent with MAP's 2024 theme, Relevant Leadership for a Progressive Philippines. Because of his able and decisive leadership, he served as an inspiration to the governors, the committee chairs and vice chairs, the membership, the management, and staff to address themselves fully to the needs of the MAP and its members, and to measure up to the high standards of management and leadership for which the MAP has been established. Given during the MAP inaugural meeting on January 15, 2025 at the Shangri-La, the Fort in BGC, Taguig City. Signed, Al Panlilio, MAP President for 2025. To express MAP's sincere appreciation, let us all give Secretary Rene another big round of applause. At this point, we will now witness the turnover of the symbol of MAP presidency to inspire Mr. Al Panlilio in pursuing the MAP's vision of promoting management and excellence for nation building. Secretary Almendras has turned over the symbol of the MAP presidency to Mr. Panlilio. And now we'd like to ask again another warm round of applause, please, for both our incoming and outgoing MAP presidents. The 2025 president of the MAP will now deliver his inaugural address, and I'd like to ask you for yet another round of applause, please, for Mr. Al Panlilio.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I think for the coming GMMs, I need to invite MVP again to get this kind of crowd in the room. Our objective is to really have a full crowd every time we have a GMM. Our guest speaker and inducting officer, Mr. Manuel V. Pangilinan, our distinguished guests from the government, the diplomatic community, the academe, and the media, leaders of the various Philippine business groups and foreign chambers, MEP Management Person of the Year awardees, MEP past presidents, outgoing MEP President Rene Almendras, MEP board members, fellow MEP members, dear friends, and my family who's here in front with me. Good afternoon to all of you. To MVP, my boss and my mentor for 24 years, a heartfelt thank you for taking the time and for being here. Your brand of management and leadership has been visionary, inspiring, and insightful. Your unwavering commitment to uplift the plight of our countrymen has left a positive and hopeful imprint in our everyday lives. My years in the MVP group have provided me with the sound management building blocks, which I hope will be helpful in pushing forth and realizing the MAP's advocacies. I would also like to thank Secretary Rene Almendras. Very hard to follow your big shoes, Secretary, and his Board of Governors of 2024 for successfully leading the MAP last year. Let us thank Rene for fervently pushing for relevant leadership and member engagement during his term. Let us give Rene and the outgoing board a warm round of applause, please. I am deeply honored and grateful to serve as the 77th President of the Management Association of the Philippines. It is humbling to be included in the distinguished roster of past presidents and leaders who have built MAP to what it is today. I am undoubtedly overwhelmed by the breadth and depth of wisdom present here today. The wellspring of expertise and mastery within the MAP serves as an inspiration, my push to give this position my 200%. As in the past, MAP's activities this year will be guided by a theme. For 2025, we will once again build on MAP's legacy, its strengths, while forging forward to a relevant and progressive future. For MAP's 75th year, yes, this year is our 75th year, our diamond anniversary, we have chosen a theme aligned with MAP's mission of promoting management excellence for nation building. Our day, your board started work today at 8 a.m. We had a strategic planning before this event. We started at 8, and your 2025 MAP Board of Governors has chosen the theme, Management Excellence for a Progressive Philippines. To continue and sustain the noteworthy projects that were initiated or implemented by last year's board, MAP will continue to pursue the following 4 thrusts. And by the way, this year, I think what changed in the board is it will also be a bottom-up process where we will work with the committees, with all their initiatives, and that will be presented to the board. So one of the 4 thrusts, the first one, member engagement. Second, country competitiveness. Third, ESG and shared prosperity. And fourth, investing in the youth. Last year, there were 5 thrusts. This year, we will merge to 4. Last year's cluster on innovation, technology, and digitalization has been merged into the cluster of country competitiveness. Not so much because there is less to do, but because our hope is that in focusing, we sharpen impact. On member engagement, we'll continue to ensure the relevance of the topics and issues covered in the MAP General Membership meetings or GMMs in order to engage the membership in a more meaningful way. We will cover relevant topics and developments so as to benefit the members, their companies, and the economy. We will hold, we just added this, 3 GMMs outside Metro Manila this year, so we can engage our members in Visayas and Mindanao. Through technology and its proactive application, we'll continue enabling virtual participation of members outside Metro Manila in our various activities. This will enable MAP to help expand business and economic development benefits to the rest of the country. On country competitiveness, we will continue to push for vital policy reforms through executive or legislative action that will eliminate corruption, improve the ease of doing business, ensure food security through agricultural productivity, and sustain an enabling business environment for local and foreign investors. The aspiration is to attract greater and more diverse job-creating investments for more Filipinos to be gainfully employed. On ESG and shared prosperity, we will continue advancing environmental, social, and governance principles and fostering shared prosperity as a key strategic thrust for the year. By integrating sustainable practices, promoting ethical leadership, and driving inclusive growth, we aim to create long-term value for MEP members and all other stakeholders. We will continue pushing for the discourse and activities to champion responsible business, uplift communities, and contribute to a resilient and equitable future for the Philippines. Investing in the youth, we will continue the campaign against malnutrition and child stunting, or CAMAX. And we will continue advocating for government and the private sector to pursue relevant education, health, and wellness programs, particularly for the youth. The objective is for the youth to become productive members of society with competitive skills and capacity that will ensure a progressive economy of the future. We did a survey late last year, and we will certainly address the top 7 concerns of MEP members, and they are as follows. Number 1 in the list, corruption. Number 2, education. Number 3, economy. Number 4, ease of doing business. Number 5, climate change. Number 6, cybersecurity. And lastly, dealing with LGUs. Yeah, that came out in the survey, sorry. Please note that all your top 7 concerns will directly be addressed by the 4 thrusts that I've explained earlier. To address corruption and ease of doing business, the MEP will, Rene did a good job last year. He said he would spend every other week with ARTA. No? So we will continue to participate actively in the programs of the Anti-Red Tape Authority, or ARTA. In general, we will build on MEP's ongoing activities that benefit our members and other stakeholders. While focusing on the 4 main thrusts, we will continue to pursue other advocacies and programs to adapt to developments in the domestic and global landscape. Your 2025 board will work with the 25 MEP committees, which shall be grouped according to 4 main trusts for 2025. The member engagement group will be headed by yours truly, Noel Bonoan, and my VP, Mike Toledo. Yeah, member engagement, magaling si Mike dyan. The country competitiveness group will be headed by Rene Almendras and Hil Henyo. The ESG and shared prosperity group will be led by Rex Drilon II. The group of investing in the youth will be handled by Paulo Borromeo and Maan Hontiveros. Also, the board has approved the following rationalization of the 2025 committees. The Ethics Committee will be a regular committee in 2025, with the MEP past president and last year's MEP Management Person of the Year, Babe Singson, as chair. Thank you for accepting, Sec Babes. The Next Gen Committee will be transferred from the Innovation, Technology, and Digitalization Cluster to the Member Engagement Cluster. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DEI Committee, will be moved from the ESG and Shared Prosperity Cluster to the Country Competitiveness Cluster. The ICT Committee will be transferred from the Innovation, Technology, and Digitalization Cluster to the Country Competitiveness Cluster. The Tech Startup Committee will be merged with the ICT Committee. And there will be 2 more board committees. The Board Committee on Audit and Risk will have Noel Bonoan as chair. And I think we added Paulo and Mike Toledo. Paulo Borromeo and Mike Toledo. And like like sustainability, the Board Committee on Governance will solely be handled by Rex Drilon. Thank you, Rex. As I mentioned earlier, MAP is turning 75 this year. And we've lined up the following activities so far, among others, to commemorate this very important landmark in the history of our association. We will have an anniversary dinner cum concert with the Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra in July of 2025. We have Maan, who will take charge of that important project. Thank you, Maan. We will also develop an updated MAP video that can be used in succeeding years, regardless of who the next MAP president will be. So it will be a timeless video for the association. We hope to launch the new video during that dinner that I just mentioned. We are in the process of finalizing the events for next year. We will certainly have other activities in celebration of this milestone, and definitely we will announce all this in due time as we are able to develop these programs. Before I close, I'd like to assure everyone that on our Diamond Year, we will not just commemorate the past, but we will fortify and lay the seeds in shaping the next 75 years and beyond. We in the board, hand in hand with each one of you, our MAP members, particularly all the committee chairs and vice chairs, know that with your active participation and support, 2025 will see the realization of these goals into real change and meaningful impact. Thank you for your trust, your passion, and your commitment. Let's make 2025 a year of progress, not just for MAP, but also for the Philippines. Mabuhay ang MAP. Salamat po.
Thank you, President Al, and congratulations. In line with the MAP policy and in the interest of time, we will dispense with the lengthy introduction of our guest speaker, who actually needs no introduction in the first place. Instead, his profile has been included in the printed brochure that was given to everyone at the registration desk. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome our guest speaker, the chair of the MVP Group and MAP Management Person of the Year 2005, Mr. Manuel V. Pangilinan.
Thank you, man. So, incoming President Al Panlilio, outgoing President Secretary Rene Almendras, MAP governors and members, dear friends, unang-una, happy vibes sa bagong taon at magandang tanghali sa inyong lahat. I'd be remiss if I did not also acknowledge Mike Toledo, because he reminded me this morning and previous days to acknowledge him as a vice president of your organization. Hindi naman siya insistent. I just got 12 text messages this morning. So Mike, I've done my job, right? So thank you for your invitation today. The last time I spoke to you was 19 years ago in January of 2006. So it's a privilege to again join the fellowship of the MAP. I will speak to you today about both AI and AL. When I got the email invitation, I mistook AL for AI. It was Al Panlilio pala. So congratulations to you, Al, on the distinction and the responsibility for becoming the 77th president of MAP. Your members will be expecting a lot from you. The circumstances of my first meeting with Al were actually quite unconventional. It was a particularly chaotic year, Y2K, the year 2000, my second year at PLDT. I was then looking for someone to head PLDT's enterprise business. Al was referred to me as a candidate by a colleague, but my only available time slot for his interview was the wake of the father of a mutual friend, midnight at the Arlington Funeral Homes along Araneta Avenue. So that was an odd backdrop for beginnings, but that's life, isn't it? In a place of great sorrow and loss, we witnessed the birth of a distinctive career and a lifelong friendship. That first meeting introduced me to one of my closest friends and one of my most reliable executives. But I must say that Al has graduated to sartorial elegance nowadays, and great credit must belong to his wife, Angela. Thank you, Angela. Now on to this nebulous subject of artificial intelligence. At my age, I've probably seen more modern history than many of you. If you're wondering where my confidence to speak on this matter comes from, it is the fact that AI is not the first revolution I've encountered in my life. To all of us, AI is touted as this monumental technology that will forever alter the landscape of business. That is in fact true. AI will be impactful. For us frontliners in the technology battlefield, it is simply another big challenge. But let's talk for a moment about fear, because fear and progress are strange bedfellows. Every time a new technology arrives, it carries with it the ghost of Banquo, of Macbeth. That ghost whispers into our collective ear, this will replace you, this will obsolete you, this will end you. History is replete with echoes of fear. When the automobile replaced the horse-drawn carriage, people worried about the livelihood of coachmen and stable hands. When the telephone was invented, switchboard operators saw the roles eventually vanish. And yes, BPO workers, a cornerstone of economies like ours, may one day find most of their tasks, repetitive, routine, or simple, fully automated. Time and again, we have confronted these fears only to emerge transformed and not diminished. The end of one job often signals the beginning of another. When coachmen disappeared, mechanics and drivers rose in their place. When telephone operators faded into history, a new world telecommunications, faster, more versatile, and more useful, was born. And there are examples in PLDT. One of our labor relations personnel was a former switchboard operator. My personal secretary, Kathy, was once the voice on mobile that said, the number you dialed is out of coverage area. So AI reflects not just the rhythm of progress, it is the heartbeat of mankind. So the lesson here is that humanity has never been shaped by the jobs we lose. Instead, we are defined by the future we create. AI is already changing the way we live. When a colleague was asked by his wife to shop for washing machines, he decided to simply take pictures of every machine available before uploading them to ChatGPT to analyze the options in a spreadsheet. So for some of you may know, dating apps are also determining our romantic futures through algorithms. These relatively mundane innovations will do foreshadow even bigger ones to address. For example, malnutrition and hunger, which is at the forefront of our minds in PBSP. But think about AI's ability to help in getting leftover food from restaurants and hotels and distributing them to the poor. Or something even bigger. Imagine if you could develop an end-to-end digital map of our nation's food supply chain. That one we experienced when there was panic buying because of the COVID in the year 2000. We should know exactly which food items are consumed, say per month per individual, how much are in inventory nationwide, how much are in transit, and what and where we produce or where we import our raw materials and our food items. So what factors do we need or are slowing down to develop AI adoption in the Philippines? There are basically three impediments. First, data. For AI to work, companies need to feed their algorithms vast cache of data which must be complete, high quality, and readily available. I think PLDT has formed this Kayana, if Ricky is listening, so that we could gather the data for each of the companies within the group, not only the telco, but also power, water, and tollways. Second, talent and expertise, probably the most scarce resources, because AI needs to be customized for particular business needs. Open source solutions may not always work. And third, infrastructure, robust data networks and AI-enabled data centers with huge and ultra-fast computing capabilities. PLDT is currently building and planning to build AI data centers, not just hyperscalers. Looking ahead, those born this year, 2025, they're called Gen Betas, will not know a world without AI and robots, because these will be integrated by then into their daily lives. So since this is the Management Association of the Philippines, what does AI mean for CEOs? You know, there are always intergenerational gaps in our management hierarchies, if only because of age. However, today, these differences are wider and more significant. Millennials and Gen Zs make up 74% of the employee core of PLDT and Smart. Gen X comprises 24%, and of course, boomers like me comprise the remaining 1%. Fresh from Wharton, I thought that management was as simple as being thrown directly into a den of wolves. Now, millennials and Gen Zs represent a new breed of wolves. They are disruptive, they have bad hair, they wear different clothes. They're addicted to a bewildering raft of apps and messaging platforms. I think you must know that from your children and your grandchildren. They have been defined as digital nomads, very mobile and very digital. And some accuse them of being entitled and self-centered and not entirely communicative. But I don't know if that is fair. It's quite possible that they're misunderstood. To them, work isn't about their paycheck only, it's about their story. Those more senior see this as being self-centered, but that narrative is also framed by the world they know they're inheriting, which is either magical or collapsing. The misunderstanding cuts both ways. They roll their eyes at our jokes. They're challenged with jargon we don't understand, like momol and fubu and shish and riz, IRL, YOLO, YONO, and Gina G. They say sana all when you give out bonuses. Do you know what those terms actually mean? No. Maybe Gio does. Some I cannot say, right? Like FUBU. The point, though, is we need to understand them first so we can manage them better, because they're your future management core. So our predecessors were similarly dismayed by us baby boomers. To them, we were hippies and activists, privileged kids who never had to go through the perils of war. Despite the divide, I know that this new generation still craves challenges that stretch them, leaders who inspire them, teachers who mentor them, and workplaces where their jobs connect to something larger than their work. There are moments when the wisdom of years serves as a useful compass for uncharted waters, especially in a place like the Philippines. But even the oldest compasses must one day allow younger hands to steer the ship. Succession is not merely about finding replacements and nurturing them for the future. It is about creating space for growth, recognizing when our wisdom must give way to their energy, when our experience must make room for their ingenuity. Leadership, after all, is not a chair to sit on forever. It is a torch to be passed on. So to close, in 1857, Harper's Magazine, the oldest monthly in America, published an essay that commented on the politics and society then. I'd like to quote a portion of that essay because it seems to connect to our time and to almost every part of this world, including the Philippines. And I quote, "The political cauldron seethes and bubbles with toil and trouble. Politics hang like a cloud, dark and silent upon the horizon. It is a solemn moment. Of our troubles, no man can see the end." In today's vocabulary, a Gen Z can, on TikTok, might say it more elegantly, and I quote, "Nothing is okay and everything sucks." But the job of those of us in business is to remain upbeat. In our group, the optimists have it not because they are right, but because they are positive. This brings to mind what Linus, the younger, more optimistic friend of Charlie Brown, or Peanuts, once said, "I guess it's wrong to worry about tomorrow. Maybe we should think only about today." To which the ever good-natured Charlie Brown responded, "No, that's giving up. I'm still hoping yesterday will get better." And so do we, right? In this, every generation, but especially those who come next, the millennials, the Gen Zs, the alphas, and the betas, are allies, not adversaries. AI, with its immense power, is not an existential threat. It is a tool. Together, they form the scaffoldings of the next great cathedrals of progress. But scaffoldings alone do not build edifices. It is human creativity and ingenuity. The minds, the hearts, and the hands of men and women ultimately are responsible for turning visions into grandiose creations, no matter the era. Margaret Mead once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." In this whole, it is this small group which has the collective will, the intelligence, and courage needed to turn the page to the next great chapter of our nation. And now you can even get help from AI. Congratulations once again, Al, at mabuhay ang lahat ng bumubuo ng Management Association of the Philippines. Again, happy vibes sa bagong taon. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Pangilinan. And from this baby boomer, hippie, activist, one-percenter compass, I'd like to thank you for your very encouraging and very upbeat message to us. We do not need to fear AI. We will now proceed to the question and answer, and Mr. Pangilinan has graciously accepted to share us his valuable time. There are microphones on the floor for your use in asking your question. Please wait to be acknowledged before you ask your question. And may I please ask you to be brief and refrain from making a speech. Let me now start with my own question. Mr. Pangilinan, you touched on the need for the one-percenters, that's us, to make way for the next generation of people. There is a perception that the MVP group has a succession management problem. Is this true, and how are you addressing this?
I'd like to deny that it's true, but it is true, yes. Yeah, well, I'm 78 and, approaching the twilight of my career, right? So succession questions have been raised quite a number of times now and even in the past. So it's something that I really have to think about and prepare for, for the group. For not only the group taken as a whole, but also for each of the individual companies.
Well, those are very big shoes to fill, Mr. Pangilinan. But another question. If you were the President of the Philippines, what would you do to eradicate corruption and improve the quality of basic education in the Philippines?
Well, Trump has offered to make Canada the 51st state. Maybe we should be the 52nd, right? I don't know how to address the corruption issue. It is deeply ingrained into the fabric of Filipino life and business. Maybe not in my lifetime. You just have to deal with it as your constance dictates.
Oh, and I thought you were going to give us some upbeat advice. Well, anyway, we are open for questions, so would you kindly please rise if you have some questions? I see Tony there. Tony, you never run out of questions, so would you like to ask the first question? Yes. Yes, you. Who else?
First of all, very good speech, my boss, my compadre. What has been your biggest management achievement? And what is your biggest management problem today?
Sounds like a slam book question, right? Being bestowed title Management of the Year in 2005, that's one. And secondly, speaking before you, my peers in management, right? So that's good enough, isn't it?
Okay, you're entitled to your second question.
But actually, what gives me the greatest joy is when seeing the people I work with really sort of fulfilling the potential, being successful in their own right. And that's what gives me the greatest joy. And of course, our company is doing better than the previous periods, right? So that's basically it. In many ways, my work defines me quite a bit, no? So, yun lang. Mababaw lang kaligayahan ko naman, di ba?
From your vast experience, oh, okay, I'll give way to you. Could you please state your name and...
Poch Macaranas. Poch
your-
Macaranas here, Mr. Pangilinan.
Yes, Poch.
Congratulations on your theme of the AI. In the Education Committee of MAP, we want both the young and the old to be lifelong learners so that AI is not strange to the old and the practices of the past are not lost to the young. In the MVP group, how do you promote this exchange across generations on the technological frontier that is so hard to grasp because they're so fast moving?
You mean changes in the
Yes.
group or AI?
In the
IT.
group, the MVP group, how do you promote this exchange of views among the old and the young so that they are one in the direction
Well,
for the AI?
I think the process of adopting AI and embedding it to your organization will be a difficult process. It's not an easy one. And we've seen that quite a number of companies fail. No? So it is not an easy process. So this AI adoption will not be tomorrow or even next year. It will be a long process. And it starts with your effort at data collection. And the group is a nebulous figure of speech, isn't it? So you have to address the data requirements and the data possibilities of each of the companies within the group. So I'm sure there are many conglomerates here and elsewhere in the world. So they have to address the data requirements and the possibilities of digital transformation on a per company basis, right? And I think Kayana has been tasked with that role of gathering the data, collecting them, curating them, and translating those data into analytics that serve the particular purpose of that company, right? For example, Meralco has entirely different digital requirements compared, say, to PLDT or the tollways or the water and so forth, and the hospitals particularly. It starts with the pain points of each of those companies. In the case of the hospitals, the two major pain points are billing, because it takes a while for Makati Med, say, for you to get your bill if you were a patient there. And number two is the medical records of patients. I don't know to what extent they're digitalized already, but every time I check in, you have to fill the same forms, no? And in terms of billing, they have to check with each department, like a hotel, whether you have bills in radiology or etc. And the doctor's fees. They have to wait until each of the doctors involved with that patient give the fees, so provide the data on the fees. So those are pain points that we have to address in the very beginning. And medical records themselves have got to be totally digitalized. We now have 27 hospitals, majority of which are now in the provinces, and the spectrum of digital adoption is very wide. So there's got to be an effort. We haven't done it, I must say. We haven't really started, and that effort has got to be started very soon, so that everybody's on the same page eventually in terms of digitalization. Yeah, so it's not. I mean, the literature on AI and IT are actually quite different from the realities on the ground. Realities on the ground, especially here in the Philippines. There's not that kind of adoption. I'm glad the millennials and Gen Zs are coming to the fore, and we should welcome them to your management hierarchies, because they will probably lead the charge, or be part at least of that charge into the world of digital. Because it's there. It's going to come anyway, right?
Did that answer your question, Poch?
Yes, indeed.
You
Thank
have
you
a
very
follow-up?
much, Mr. Pangilinan.
And then I think that is, please identify yourself. The lights are
I'm June
strong.
Palafox. Yeah. MVP, sir. Thank you and congratulations for your nation-building initiatives. The question now is, after Ondoy, we went to Malacanang several times, and we gave about 60 recommendations to President Gloria. And you strongly supported reviewing previous planning initiatives on addressing disasters, primarily dredging of Laguna Lake and the Parañaque Spillway. And we also proposed, if you cannot do the Parañaque Spillway, a smart tunnel. And you strongly supported it, and you chaired several meetings from the private sector. I'm still trying to pursue it, but it seems it doesn't land in the right ears for decision makers. You may want us to continue. It's now 145 recommendations. We told the president at that time it's 90% less expensive to address the hazards before they become disasters, aside from saving human lives, buildings, infrastructure, and agriculture. Comment, please, sir. You might be continuing, but people are not aware. Our advocacy is addressing hazards before they become disasters. Thank you.
In preparing this speech, we looked at areas where AI can help, and one of them is disaster resilience, right? Your ability to foresee disasters before they come. Disasters like typhoons can be seen, and I think there's more technology now available to determine the direction, whatever, the velocity, and the nature of typhoon, whether it's more wind than moisture, more moisture than wind, as in the case of Ondoy, or what was the one in Leyte? Was that Ondoy? That's one part of it. Earthquakes probably, to some extent, can be predicted, but not totally, right? Substantially cannot be predicted. So we just have to be ready for, as they say, the next big one in terms of earthquake for Metro Manila particularly. And our best estimate is about a third of the infrastructure of Metro Manila will actually be affected if there's a big earthquake. And so how should we prepare for that, for this impending disaster? So that's that's an area where AI can help. But part of it, and we've suggested it to governments, not only the current one, is that the infrastructure should be embedded underground. That will help. For example, our telephone lines, lines for cable TV, certainly broadband lines, the fiber, some of them are on Meralco posts, so they're exposed. And of course, power lines are exposed. So we should have a program, a long-term one, of embedding those facilities underground. I think it's only the certain subdivisions that have put that underground, those wires underground. But we should have that long-term program, And then post-disaster, there will be algorithms. There are algorithms being developed. We at PBSP and in our foundations, it's a cookie cutter preparations for typhoons, for example, post-disaster. All right. The main job is not so much on the immediate relief that our people need. including restoration of power, which are essential, and water, which is essential for in the aftermath of a disaster. But more importantly for us is the rehabilitation period, which is, number one, it is less glamorous because the cameras are no longer there, media is no longer there, and it takes a longer time to do the rehab, right, of a particular town, cities, or whatever. And it's less, as I said, less glamorous. But that's the more important thing because lives of people are affected in the long run. No? When there was this mudslide in Hingao, somewhere in Misamis, years back, we were asked by government to move the entire town from the hillside to a fishing town. And so not only are the facilities, houses be built, but also teaching them to become fisher folks and no longer farmers, because they live in a different situation.
Yeah, thank you, sir. If I may add, there are 18 kinds of hazards. And 2004 study with magnitude 7.2, 2004 population of Metro Manila, 50,000 people will get killed. And we told government that time they should now do structural audits and retrofit of all infrastructure. Metro Manila was divided into 4, north and south of Pasig River, east and west of the fault line. Thank you very much for the opportunity, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Rex Drilon.
Thank you, Ma'am. Mr. Pangilinan, I will not ask a question about your speech and AI. I happen to be the chair of the ESG and Shared Prosperity cluster of the MAP, and I'm compelled to ask you about shared prosperity. We've seen the progress of your group since you took over many, many years ago and have become a model for success in business, including you're embracing corporate governance as part of your strategy. The question is, how prepared is the MVP group to support the shared prosperity concept in running the group, where you're able to commit to your stakeholders, to the six stakeholders, and is the group prepared to sign up for the Covenant on Shared Prosperity signed by 28 business groups a couple of years ago?
How is because there's an echo, I can't quite. How is our group responding to ESG?
To ESG and shared prosperity, and would you be prepared to sign up the Covenant on Shared Prosperity?
Rex, do you have the covenant there for him
Okay.
to sign?
I'm glad you didn't. Thank you for your question, but also I'm glad you didn't ask about my speech because I don't know whether I could answer them any questions. But you know, how do we view our business? Let me start with that, right? So to begin with, we view our businesses as our first responsibility is to our owners of the business. So we view them in the traditional perspective of delivering goods and services for a profit, right? Because that's what our owners want to see. That's what they demand of the stewards or managers of the business. So that's our starting premise. But beyond that, there is a larger social component dimension to our role as business, and that is the improvement of lives and improvement of welfare of our people. The ultimate test of our efficiency as a business is really how well have we done better for our people, for our customers, and generally the people of the Philippines in terms of the job, in terms of the business that we conduct, right? So, and we believe in that. So that defines us. That defines this group. That we have a very heavy responsibility to our people in the way we do our business, and that touches very much on governance. And I think the First Pacific, and when we took over PLDT, that was at the very core of how we conducted business in PLDT. I can tell you horror stories about malpractices there, right? So, which I don't want to get into, but that has been largely eradicated. So we're quite proud of our governance track record. Now, when you get into the social part, also the group is very heavily involved in social work. Environment, I'm a bit of a heretic there, right? Of course, I want to see that's part of our mission, is to be part of enhancing the environment of this country. But you know, what's in front of our face really is poverty. To how to uplift the welfare of our people, and I don't know whether at the end of the day, I've been quite involved with our social work. I've been to many slum areas, not only in Metro Manila but elsewhere where we have businesses, and sometimes I wonder. I've seen the parents and the kids in Baseco, for example, how the parents would require their kids to jump into Manila Bay to take whatever is down there at the bottom of the sea, mainly scrap metal, right, that they can sell. So the kids forego their education, forego their fun. They're growing up as kids simply because of the poverty there. So I sometimes wonder whether they really worry about whether the air is pure or the water is clean. They must worry about the next food on the table, the shirts on their back, and whatever else are essential to human existence. No? So that touches on a lot of these things, the narratives relating to power, emissions, etc., and whatever else that are, frankly, do not quite touch the realities of our lives here in this country, right? So I don't know whether there's a real answer to your question about ESG, but I think a number of countries, a number of major corporations are already realizing that maybe we should rethink, moderate, or whatever this very tough position about ESG. And Trump, as you know, has taken a very opposite view of oil and gas in the States. So what did he say? Drill, baby, drill. They're now the largest exporter or producer of both oil and gas. No? So thermal is coming back. It has come back to Europe as well, and even Japan. No? So because that's what they need, right? So I think was it Al who one of the remarks, or Sec Rene here, about mining, when you said the particular mine will need 150 megawatts. It must be a big mine. But, you know, within the current technology, we don't have that. It's probably too expensive to build a 150 megawatt in a particular mine, or lesser, like in the case of Felix. He uses here. I think we consume only about less than 10 megawatts in Patcal. So you do need these modular reactors that are in development. But it won't be available until 10 years minimum from today, right? Because there's a lot of pioneering and research and development work for small modular reactors. It's not going to happen. So what Meralco's doing is looking at conventional nuclear plants, 600 megawatts minimum. And it is not going to be cheap. Indications is that a traditional coal plant or even a gas plant will cost roughly $1 million per megawatt. This baby will cost $7 million per megawatt. So the 600 megawatts will cost us $4 billion US. Of course, your fuel will be very cheap, good for at least 25 years. So practically zero cost on your fuel. But the amortization of your capex will be over that period of at least 25 years. No? So there are no easy answers. I think when, I don't know who proposed it, then it was controverted by a professor in one of the US universities about solar, that solar is the answer to replace coal. That is absolutely not true. That is absolutely not true. Solar is not less expensive than coal. It isn't. Despite the huge reduction in the cost of solar panels and batteries, it's going to cost around 7 pesos per kilowatt hour, which is more expensive than coal, right? So we have to address those realities. It's not going to be easy. And the market here in this country are not subsidized. It's fully taxed. So it's, yeah.
There you have his answer. Donalina, is that you? Yeah, from our next gen member.
Mike, good afternoon, Mr. Pangilinan. My name is Donalina from the Next Gen Committee. One of the chief exports of the Philippines is our human capital, with about 10 million Filipinos abroad. And you being an expat also before, what made you come back to the Philippines, and how do we capitalize on our global Filipinos abroad? So it's actually two questions. What made you come back, sir, to the Philippines, being already an expat abroad, and came back to the Philippines? And the message to Filipino expats, and that's our Filipino experts here abroad.
Okay, yeah. Why did I come back? And what was my experience coming back? It was a culture shock, because I was in Hong Kong for 22 straight years, right? And it was one of my best exposure ever in my career, because at the time, at least before the handover to China, Hong Kong was really a cauldron of expertise, right? I worked with some of the best lawyers, some of the best bankers, both commercial, investment bankers, accountants, and the like. It was a place that really totally energized and worked to professionalism. Even the government was very business friendly, and it was a place that celebrated success, particularly business success. And so, you know, it might be artificial, but it worked. At the time, of course, Hong Kong has changed since 1997. No? So it was a culture shock for me, even if I'm Filipino, totally. And when I came back in 1999, it was a rather different place. So I had to relearn how the system works or doesn't, and et cetera, et cetera. And then first thing I learned was that you have to talk to a lot of people to get things done. You have to. So if you guys think that that the chairman or the CEO has absolute power, that's not true. My life is run by, where's Abed? By Abed. He schedules everything. So and there are many things that you run into in terms of how businesses are conducted in this country. As you said, LGUs, national governments, sideways. You have to talk to this and to talk to that. No, so. It's not an easy place to do business. Now, when I was in Hong Kong, that's where you see face to face how heroic, how much we owe our OFWs, right? Because it's a lonely place still when you're separated from the family and so forth and so on. And the way to address your loneliness is just to work. So the only day that they get their day off is Sundays. But you see, I think Shell Labito is here. You see the contribution. I think it's our largest single business. If you add up the remittances, by the way, the cost to produce every dollar that's remitted inward is zero, right? We've educated them, we've fed them, we clothed them. When they go out there, the cost is borne by the countries their employers who pay for their things. So the dollar that's remitted to us is like injecting heroin straight to your veins, to your economic vein. So, and it's a huge tribute to them for helping out. Same with the BPO and our call centers. No? So they're a huge credit, a boon to our economy. I think if they did not exist, I don't know where this economy would be. And yet, there are certain stereotypes that have developed, say in Hong Kong at least. I'm sure in other parts that replicate the kind of economies we have and the jobs that our overseas workers do. For example, sa Hong Kong, it has probably faded this time, but in Hong Kong, if you're a Filipino, you're either a seaman or a musician. That's the stereotype. And if you're if you're Filipina, you're either a stewardess or a domestic helper. So at one time, when I was traveling at night from Hong Kong to Manila, I was seated beside a gentleman from Warburg's, one of the venerable, no longer exist, venerable investment banks in London. He was rather elderly. So I was seated beside him and said, talked to me and said, "Where are you from, young man?" I was still young then. And I said, "I'm from the Philippines." "Oh, you're Filipino, right? So what business do you do?" At that time, I was working for American Express Bank. So I said, "Sir, I work with a bank." He said, "Oh, that's interesting. So what instrument do you play?" Yeah. See, but you feel that, di ba? We don't deserve that kind of thing. But that's part of the consequences that we carry. And one time when Macau, before this modern day Macau, I would go to Macau just to spend the day there. And on one of my arrivals there was a line dedicated to Filipinos. That's discrimination, isn't it? So I had to talk to the Consul General in Hong Kong, say we should protest this. Why are we being discriminated upon? No? So yun. I think that image has changed for the better nowadays. I mean, our nurses are very valued and so forth and so on. No? Pero yun, that's what we were, during my time, we had to deal with those prejudices about Filipinos. No?
Thank you.
Popoy, is that you? Yes, Popoy del Rosario.
I remember, Manny, we had lunch in Hong Kong in 1999. And the question that you asked me was, when is the best time to go back and invest in the Philippines? And I told you now is the best time. Now, two questions. First question, did you ever regret going back to the Philippines? And secondly, what do you think is your biggest contribution as far as the country is concerned? Thank you.
As far as the country is concerned, your biggest contribution as far as the country is concerned. But first of all, did you have any regrets coming home?
You know what I gave up? When I was still working with American Express Bank, I got a call in 1980, sometime towards the end of the year of 1980, from my boss, Richard Fennels, who was the head of global investment banking, with Mr. Rojas, Sixto Rojas, at that time. And said, "You've done a good job, and we want to put you on the fast track. So we're reassigning you to London, and then eventually New York." I asked for time to think about it, but I knew deep in my heart that's not the place for me. My heart is in Asia and in the Philippines, right? So I knew eventually I would come back to the Philippines. So imagine if I took that offer, I wouldn't be here. And when I went to Hong Kong first in 1976, I said I'd give myself 5 years only in Hong Kong. It turned out to be 22 years. So that's enjoying the job. And, eventually I knew I would come back. Never gave up my passport. And when I saw the opportunity to invest in PLDT, I felt the obligation to manage that investment for the group and make it successful for the group as well. So it wasn't easy acclimatizing myself with this strange people called Filipinos, right? But it was, at the end, it's something that's very gratifying and fulfilling for me, What did I enjoy the most about coming back? It is basketball, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah, when I tell you, it was also a very colorful situation, because when I know this because he was with me, when I was asked to chair the three-man committee to sort out this internal conflict in Philippine basketball way back in 2007, and Yeah, and when we had to go to call on FIBA in the winter of, was it 2006 or 2007? You know, we arrived in Frankfurt, connecting to Geneva, in the teeth of a storm, a North Atlantic storm. So the flight, as we landed in Frankfurt and we flew from Frankfurt to Geneva, horrible. And then we called on Patrick Bowman, who was then Secretary General, and Stankovic. The weather inside the FIBA headquarters was as frosty and as cold as the weather outside. That's how they saw it. We were suspended at the time, and that's how they saw the Philippines. Very, very cold, very, very, very low regard for Philippine basketball, for Filipinos. Right? But over time, we managed to warm them up, and to the point where culminating, it was the greatest pride I have for the Philippines in the award by FIBA of 2023, hosting the Basketball World Cup. We lost in 2014, I think, wasn't it? And we lost in 2017 to China, which in the presentation in Tokyo were two parts for each. The final two contenders were China and the Philippines. And there were two parts for each presentation. So the first part was the sell side. So we rolled out Lou Diamond Phillips, we rolled out Manny Pacquiao, et cetera, and Yao Ming crossed lines to congratulate the Philippine contingent, right? So how well we did. The Chinese are not exactly entertainers like Filipinos, right? And then we got to the really hard part. And China rolled out 8 cities, so many hotel rooms, so many airports, and the like. We said, this is it. So we lost that one. But I knew then that we would need to host the next FIBA championship, because I think I'd be too old to wait for 2027 or 2031. So we made a goal. We conjured up what might be a creative model, a 3-nation hosting, and I checked with Patrick whether he would be open to receiving a proposal from 3 countries, Japan, Indonesia, and the Philippines. I said, I'm open to it, and the rest is history, right? So that was gratifying. I called President Duterte when it was awarded to us on December 8th of 2017, ba yun? Something like that. It was my proudest moments as Filipino, no? To host that. Of course, I'm not too happy that Ateneo finished number 8 out of 8 teams. Right, brother?
So besides basketball, what would you consider as your most outstanding contribution to this country, or at least from your point of view? I know it's a tough one to choose, but that was the question.
Well, from purely a business perspective, it's being proud of the group, because it's now one of the major business groups in this country, and doing, I think, a critical role in economic development and the like. I mean, to use the narrative of Al here, but really in making a difference in the lives of our people, no? Hopefully in a good way, and that's satisfying enough. But there's always this ingrained notion in this country of an aversion to bigness, and I think it's a necessary evil, to be honest, right? And sorry, I mean, I hold different views from many of the conventional views about business. But look at the stock market. Our counters are very small compared to, say, even to Indonesia or Thailand, because they've got really big businesses there. I don't know what we're afraid of. I think Secretary Mendra said there might be permission to own land by foreigners. So I think we should allow that, because if they're unhappy with the weather, if they're planting rice here or building condominium on the land that they bought, what if the foreign investor is unhappy? Take out the building, bring it back to China or wherever they maybe domicile. What are you afraid of? It's better that they invest in fixed assets here in this country than BPOs, isn't it? Because they're a luggage industry. If the margins are better in Vietnam or elsewhere, they'll pack up. They just lease properties here, right? So I think you got to have. We should allow corporations to grow bigger, including the banks. They're just too small. Too small for foreign investors to be interested in. Because on the other side, the supply side of funds, they've got, look at, was it BlackRock, the biggest private equity fund in the world, trillions under management. And then when they look at the counters, it's just at best billions of dollars. No? Right? So, and very little liquidity as part of that, as a consequence, partial consequence of that, the smaller counters in this country. So it doesn't make sense. Even a mining company, Philex, is only about $300 million market cap. Now, who'd be interested in that, right? With very little liquidity as well, because it's just too small to bother with. Even the matter of the South China Sea. We try to interest American majors, to setting aside the territorial dispute. And the feedback from the majors is that too small for us to bother with.
Well,
that's about in our initial best estimate. Sorry, man, of the southern portion of Service Contract 72. Our best estimate is that it has a reserve almost equal to the initial reserve position of Malampaya, which is about 2.7 trillion cubic feet of gas. Now, that's for us is big, but for them, too small to bother with.
I've been told to wrap up, but before that, one last question from Shell Habito. If you could just make it brief, please, Shell.
Thank you. Yeah, in fact, I think this would be a good topic to cap the discussion on. I applaud Mr. Pangilinan the way that you have made a daring decision to invest in what I call the backbone of our economy. That's agriculture and agribusiness. And I know that this is part of this relates to shared prosperity, as Rex Dillon says. My question simply is there any more intention on the part of the MVP group to put even more into this very important sector that is lagging behind the rest of the economy now?
In mining, did you say?
Agriculture and agribusiness.
Yeah, well, we have invested in dairy with the brand name Carmen's Best. So we're expanding that the dairy products that they do now, just from ice cream to cheeses and yogurts and the like. No, I know for now it is at the high end of the market, but eventually we have to get to the middle market of dairy products, and in a way to import substitute, because we import more than 90% of our dairy products, and they're either UHT or powdered milk, right, as raw material. So we're trying to address that in our own small way. But we are starting to get big on greenhouses with the help of some certain Israeli partners on greenhouses. But the real is that we invest in Axelum, which exports 90% of their products to North America and to Europe, which I think is the best model, peso expenses and dollar revenues. Now we want to take over or invest in Franklin Baker because it is a moribund business, too much debt, and the owners are not interested in operating the plant, the two plants they have in Davao. Together, they probably comprise 70%, 75% of the export, coconut export, the finished products of coconut products to the U.S., no, and Canada and Europe. Now, the real test of manhood for agriculture is commercial farming. It's commercial farming, and that we are careful about. Number one, we don't want to buy the land. We want to use our money for the factors of production, the land development, the buying the right hybrids or seedlings for that particular endeavor, no? And of course, automating it, fertilizing it, irrigation when that's needed. So, yeah, we're now speaking to several LGUs, principally Mindoro and Northern Mindanao, who have offered to lease the land to us. We are now developing a 3,000-hectare farm to produce corn to feed the, what do they call it? The feeds for the cows. We have about 3,000 heads now of cows, no? So we're starting with that. But the real test is, we own Indofood, which has about 300,000 hectares planted to palm oil. So that's the scale of things. So when people come to me for palm oil, I said, ano na yan eh? Naiwanan na tayo dun eh. Your Indofood alone is 300,000. The rest are probably similar hectarage, right? In Malaysia, same thing. So we have to look for, if there's one agri-product we could be known for, it is coconuts. And we have about 300 million trees. And you probably know this, Shell, that about at least a third of them are aging, so we have to replace them. And I was approached by government, let's not name names, said the mandate is to replant 100 million trees. And they wanted us to take 10% of that, or 10 million trees. So I said, okay, where do we get the seedlings? They don't have them. So where do we get the land? They don't know. So 100 million is a lot of trees, right? So, we have this, I don't know. It's the commercial realities and the realities on the ground that we have to be realistic about. And, you guys, as management, should face the realities on the ground, especially when it comes to agri, feeding our people first, which should be a priority of any administration, feeding our people first. That's what Prime Minister Prem of Thailand did in the 80s, right? His mandate was, feed my people first. And when they produced more than they needed, they started to export. It's not magic. It's not, there's no secret sauce to this thing, except the hard knocks you must realize when you get into, especially the agri, which I think we have neglected for a very long time.
Thank you so much for all.
And power too, if I may.
Thank you so much for all your powerful, practical insights. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. We will see you in February for the next MAP General Membership Meeting. And this, at this point, this MAP Inaugural Meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.